on Monday, June 13th, 2016, with Crucia Ryan to my right. Frank Marchese will be joining us shortly. I'm Nick Sexton, and today we're going to start off with something that we touched on a little bit about a little bit ago, but we'll go more in depth into the matches. And that is the Euros for 2016. They've started off. Most of the groups, except Group F, have played already, and the in the second match day, it didn't really start off that well as our pick of England drew with Russia. So I mean, our bracket is starting out about just as good as our March Madness bracket, which we all know how that went. But Crucia, what are some surprises you found throughout this tournament?
Well, my first thought was the today's game that just happened a couple hours ago, the Belgium and Italy game. Now, these were supposed to be two powerhouse teams, but no matter how many times it seemed to go, pretty much be even, it seemed like Italy was on top most of the time, whether or not it was just getting it on the other half of the field, where they were able to get in the scoring position and ended up winning 2-0. That was, for us at least, that was another reason why our bracket is starting to look like the March Madness bracket, because that's already out the door. And like you mentioned with the England and Russia thing, where it seemed like, England had the possession, had the scoring ability all game long. They had the lead and they were just dominating up until late in the game where they were just tired and you could see it physically wearing on them. They just were trying to fight to the end, in which case they couldn't complete the win and dropping a goal to Russia. But it's so far in this early. This is only match day one. Let me remind you, this we still have a lot of Euros to be played, but so far already it seems like it's going to become a lot closer than we had expected it to be.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the games that were thought to be blowouts, you had France and Romania, who, people expected France to win, 3-0 or something. They won 2-1 on a beautiful goal from Dimitri Payet. And so with all these, not really upsets, but I mean, with it being closer than we anticipated. I mean, you talked about the England-Russia game. England with 15 shots, 5 on goal. Russia with 6 shots, 2 on goal. I mean, it's that game's somewhat of an anomaly as far as England. They were dominating the whole game. Very unfortunate for them to drop points in that game, as now they have Wales in their next game, which Gareth Bale is pretty much leading them to victory as he does with that nation, and so it's going to be difficult for England. Who, Crucia, you and I both have England as the champions of Euros, so it'll be interesting to see how that works
Well,
out.
I do have Germany. I have them getting to the finals. I just don't have them winning it all.
Oh yeah, that's just me. So mine's not looking too great. But I mean, we still have Group F to play, as I mentioned, which I mean that's kind of, if any group is the weakest, it's got to be Group F, with Portugal pretty much being the only team that you would expect to maybe compete, even though they only have Ronaldo. But that's going to be, I think that's the group to watch as far as who gets that number two spot.
I love your guys' optimism here with our brackets, since there's still two more games left to be played, and you saw what the U.S. did in the Copa America, that anything can happen. Even if you lose your first game, you can still come back and win the group. Um, Italy's game this morning, absolutely fantastic. A beautiful performance from the team. Bonucci going to the Andrea Pirlo school of precision crossing in this game, set up both goals for the Italian squad, which is absolutely fantastic. Ireland shutting down Sweden, even though they drew 1-1. But Ibrahimovic did not run rampant today. Spain over the Czech Republic, as we would have thought. But the Germany-Ukraine game, very interesting. Neuer was absolutely fantastic, as he needed to be for the German side. Croatia taking the win against Turkey. Um, but again, you guys, that England-Russia game, that was, if you are an England supporter, not the way you would have wanted your team to perform against that Russian squad.
And we have them winning the league. I mean, like you mentioned, it's still 2 games ahead. It's just they have to put this in the back of their mind and say we have to play better than we did. They didn't play bad, let's face it. They just did not keep up as far as fitness wise, as far as having that energy left and finishing through all 90 minutes plus. With that being the case, though, they still, I feel that are still the dominant ones in their group. You know, when you also have to go up against Wales and Slovakia, which, I mean, like you mentioned, Gareth Bale leading the Wales squad. I mean, he had a pretty good, decent free kick, and which led to a goal. But I mean, they shouldn't have a problem with Slovakia. I feel the fact that they drew to Russia, it just makes their points as far as being a leader just less than that. I mean, but I still feel that this squad that will be the Group B winners. But the thing with Wales is that I am not as shocked as I feel like I should be. The fact that they're able to hold their own so far. That I think if I'm remember correctly, I believe this was one of the fewest times that Wales have won a competition such as like a Euro winning a match at least. It's rarely happened for Wales, and just to see them be able to do that against Slovakia and just have that leader in Gareth Bale is pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Gareth Bale, and what I'm interested to see is that Slovakia, you know, they're a decent team, but their defense really isn't up to par to contain Gareth Bale. So if you go up against a team, it'll be interesting in the England game to see Gareth Bale go up against that defense and see if he can hold his own against that England team pretty much on his own. You know, they have a couple decent players, but overall Wales is pretty much represented entirely by Gareth Bale. I mean, these Euros, they will definitely be exciting, like you mentioned. Still have a lot of matches to be played. And there is another tournament going on in the world of international football. Not just the Euros, but we have the Copa America going on, which kicked off a little bit earlier. Frankie, you referenced it. The U.S. leading or winning Group A, which with that of Colombia, Costa Rica, and Paraguay. I mean, that I saw us getting through, but I didn't think we were going to win the division. And the real shocker is Brazil being eliminated from advancing in Group B, with Peru and Ecuador leading the charge on a very controversial game against Peru.
As I said this morning, forget about Thierry Henry now. That handball that knocked Ireland out of World Cup contention in that World Cup qualifier, I believe, what was it, 2010, that this is not only more blatant, but more criminal. Thierry Henry, with his arm, knocked the ball onto his foot into the net. This was a flat-out, just swatted it with his arm into the net. And all Brazil needed to do was tie. And this is, for me, this brings up Italy-Uruguay in the World Cup a couple of years ago. Just, all you need to do is get a tie to advance, and then some shenanigans take place, and you end up out. And it was very odd to see, especially as you don't see the officials converse together like that for that long, or in football at all, really, and see them still get the call wrong. Just unbelievable.
It was an extremely horrible call, especially for all Brazilian fans in the Brazil squad. You know, they dealt with a lot of not having like their star player, quote unquote, not having Neymar in this competition due to some club issues with him in Barcelona. But with that being the case, so they still were
Barca allowed him to play one international tournament this year, and he chose to play the Olympics.
Yeah, and they were still expected to do something. They weren't expected to be knocked out. But that was definitely what, you know, edged into people's minds that, wow, we really need to put more focus, have more people being able to talk about this stuff, because this is it. That essentially was the only thing that kept Brazil from not going on, was that one and only goal of that game. But to get past that, because let's face it, we all know how it looked, and we feel that it was wrong completely. The game I'm looking for, which I believe is happening tonight, is the Mexico and Venezuela game. The winner of that is going to be the winner of the Group C, and if they draw, I believe Mexico will still be the Group C winner. But just that alone, this is all about positioning at this point. I mean, Uruguay and Jamaica, let's face it, aren't going to do anything. And then Group D, you also have Argentina and Chile, which, if Argentina wins, 9 points, 3 out of 3 wins, shouldn't be no problem, as they last place Bolivia. And you have Chile versus Panama, which is, I feel it's going to be Chile all the way. I mean, Chile has been pretty decent. You got Sanchez, and he's pretty much leading this team so far. It's just going to be exciting to see how these brackets will go into as we start getting closer to the final. But it's going to be really exciting to watch and see especially the Mexico and the uh, Venezuela game.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the positioning here, and Mexico, as it stands right now, they're first, then Venezuela, and so whoever's in that second position will most likely play Argentina, who, I mean, you do not want to go up against them in your first knockout game. I mean, they are one of the favorites to win it all, and so if you play them first in the knockout stage, it's pretty much a death sentence, really. And so both Mexico and Venezuela, they want to get that first position, just have a chance of playing at Chile. I believe if Chile win tonight against Panama, Chile will have the second spot. It'd be crazy to see Chile get knocked down in Panama, get the second spot. But I mean, you do not want to be in a position to face Argentina in your next game, considering the superstar power they have of Lionel Messi, Sergio Aguero, Di Maria. I mean, they have some superstars on the attack. Their defense is a little bit suspect, but I mean, they're attacking more than make up for it.
It's funny you guys picture the Mexico-Venezuela game to be the game to watch. Meanwhile, nobody is going to be watching it because of the NBA Finals tonight. But it's worth noting that both Mexico and Venezuela are in the next round. This game is just a matter of seeding. Right now, Mexico would have first place if they were to draw tonight on goal differential 4-2. And then Argentina's in, Bolivia is out, so that game means nothing. So the first game tomorrow between Chile and Panama, both of them are tied. If they draw, Chile gets it. If Panama were to win, they're in.
And essentially it's going to lead up to that exact moment. Like I said, for me, I feel like Chile is the better team overall in this regard. But you mentioned, Nick, that Argentina, that powerhouse, you really don't want to go up against them, whether it's going to be Venezuela or Mexico. But it's still, I mean, But speaking of Argentina, they really haven't had these powerhouse guys that like play as much as you would like. Everyone thinks that when they think of Argentina powerhouse, the first thing is Messi. He's been playing on the bench most of this tournament, not Argentina not needing him. So it's not so much the fact that just having these superstars, it's just the depth in which Argentina has to destroy you in many ways possible, whether or not it's attacking or not so much defensive, but they're getting better in that regard. When you got Otamendi and Rojo in the backfield, these guys are essentially the backbone of this team. And Argentina, like you mentioned, the favorites to win it. But you still got to look at all these other teams that are stepping up. Like we mentioned, USA. I just want to stop real quick and mention that Clinton Dempsey, this tournament, scored, I believe, his 51st or 52nd goal, which only one other player in U.S. history has scored over 50 goals, that being the legend Landon Donovan out of LA Galaxy. But with that being said, it's still going to be exciting Copa America to watch. It's coming down to it all, and let's just see how it all plays out.
Yeah, you mentioned the USA, and what it'll be interesting to watch is they're set to play Ecuador next, but they will not have DeAndre Yedlin, their right back, as yet. Two yellow cards in the span of really a couple in the span of around a minute, which I mean that was shocking to me to see him get two yellows and the red after that. But it will be interesting to see how this Copa America tournament plays out going to the knockout stage. And with that, we will go to break. Don't go away. We'll be discussing another key sports event happening tonight.